So the pages embedding cluster comes from embeddings, right? So we're converting each 700
Right.
character chunk of content into a vector. And then we have all these points in space, right? So there's a bunch of these.
Yeah.
And we do this k-means calculation to say, group them into 3 groups, right? So now here there's 3 groups, and we take the one that has the most embeddings in that group, and that is the page's top cluster. It's what the page is mostly centered around. And so that top cluster, the snippet that it's about to return, it's not in that top cluster. And so that's like a template issue. Let's say here's the top cluster, and then we've got this point here. This is the embedding that it came back at the highest cosine similarity. Yeah, it's here, right? So like this is the top embedding chunk. It's pulling this back as like the highest match to core set prom dresses
For that page's content.
Yeah, yeah, it's the most relevant. So like, look at the similarity, right? So the red means the top cluster, doesn't mean like the highest cosine similarity here. So this is the highest cosine similarity. It's always larger font than the rest of the chunks. That's how you know which one's the top one. And you can see 60% to core set prom dresses. This would have been all well and good, but Google has added this condition which says, just check, make sure that the page is about this, right? That it's in the top cluster, and it's not. You can see the top cluster, it's the red, right? So it's these things. We have all the data now, right? We can see all the chunks of content that is in the top cluster, and we can see the chunk that it pulled back. And so now we just ask a large language model, like, tell us how to align it, right? Do we need to bring the page into alignment with this, or do we need to take this piece of chunk and put it into the top cluster? So that's what we do. We do both. We say, here's the differences, right? So the first thing is the differences, and then we also point out like the structure of it as well as the keywords, and then we say, here's to make the target embedding part of the top cluster, do this, or if the page's top cluster needs a realignment, do this. This is the top chunk of content is really just the navigation. It's just listing out all of the like the dresses and all that stuff. Copy it all in and make the content more about how core set dresses stack up against other dresses, not about how it fits into homecoming, prom, etc. The topic cluster needs realignment. I just want you to get an idea of like my brain space of like how I'm doing this, but here it is. So it just outputs this out. And so now look at this, it's totally different, right? So instead of talking about like, now we're immediately getting to, we have a diverse collection of core set dresses, and we're talking about more dresses. So we're talking about dresses versus different other, why is it different than other liner shift dresses? And all of this here, if we were to put this in here, let's just do that. So let's just start right here. We're going to go all the way down. We know this is all the rest of the content, so it doesn't really matter. I'm just going to paste this in. Okay, here we are. So now we have the new content. I'm going to click on Update AI Overviews Visualizer. So here, now, look at that. It's not part of the top cluster anymore. That fixed it. Oh my goodness.
Wait a minute.
It's too easy.
The coloring is how similar it is.
So yeah, so if you look at the cluster analysis, this used to be blue, right? This was blue. This is at the bottom now. Now, because the top cluster is all about comparing the dresses, it's actually a lot further up, closer to the top cluster now, because the top cluster is about just dresses. This isn't important anymore because it's not the top chunk of content that matches.
Okay, so we pulled it more towards what it should be related, similar to now.
We did, because look, this is where the top one is 60.81. It beat out that top chunk by a little bit percentage, right? This one is now 60.74. So now we've done it. This chunk of content was even better than just listing out dresses. Like literally just what we thought could have been the best way to do it. Now this is actually even better. And not only did we do that, but we made all of the content, the body of the content of the page about this, right? So it's more about core set dresses. This is a cluster tab here. So the cluster, this is just breaking up all of the chunks of content into 3 groups, no matter what. So it's just saying, here's all these dots in the space, right? There's probably like 30 of them on this page.
Most similar to least similar, regardless.
We do a thing called k-means, mathematical calculation that you given a set of data, you have it group it into 3 groups. that are close to, it's like drawing a circle around groups, right? It's mathematically doing that. And then we say, okay, you've got 3 groups here. What's the group that has the most of these dots, these points? What's the second and third? And that's what this is. So you see there's always going to be 3 colors here. And you want to make sure that the top chunk of content that Google likes, which is this one now, is in the top cluster. It's what the page is about. Before we had, this was blue, and this was also the biggest chunk of content. It had the big letters because it was the highest cosine similarity. Now the highest cosine similarity is actually this. And at the same time, we've realigned the page to react higher and more, and give confidence to the AI overview system that pulls these snippets in, that this is a page really all about core set dresses. The highest performing chunk was just listing out dresses. It was just literally our navigation listing all the dresses. And so we know from that that that's what Google likes. Like we can see out of the whole page, this is what it would have returned. That's what it likes when that's the keyword that we're searching for. So we just then turned and made the whole page about that, right? We said, okay, change the content so that it's realigned with what we're doing here. Rinse and repeat.